Poppy Potter,
Good morning,
12
Mickey
week
Mikeworth.
year. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, so I want to talk about the 12-week year today and some of your prosperity mindset and
Great.
just remind everybody about your awesomeness,
Oh,
right? I'm a Potter fan. So 12-week year, right? It's a book. It's not necessarily the best book in the world, but it is a great system to learn how to do stuff. So you've gone through a couple rounds now.
yes, I've gone through 2 rounds of the 12-week process. So,
And so for all of the people that are newbies that are just trying this stupid book thing,
yeah,
it feels sticky at first.
it does. And I think the book actually is not bad because it is what gives you the system, right?
Yes.
And so it provides a framework for how people can move through things. And I think what I appreciated about it so much is that instead of thinking of like, oh, I have these annual goals, blah, 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 I've got 12 months to meet them so I can kind of coast for a while. The 12-week year kind of implodes that and says, okay, fine, if that's how you're thinking about it, let's change the game a little bit and let's think about this in a 12-week process so
Which
that
is 84 days. 84 days.
okay,
You
84
can do
days,
anything
people.
for 84 days.
You can do anything for 84 days, but it also really makes you focus on like, yeah, what is it that I want to accomplish? And what is and how does that fit into the bigger thing that I'm working towards over here? Um, and it really kind of forces this mindset of chunking, but it
Yeah.
also really provides motivation. And I think that's the thing that I've noticed is that thinking about things in a 12-week process, it's like, oh, well, yeah, anything's possible. I can do something for 12 weeks. And if I want to get a chunk done, what is that chunk? And so for me, it really has helped me break things into chunks and to because it is 84 days and because I have a group that I'm working with to be like, I got to be on it. Like, I got to talk about
Yes.
what I've accomplished this week. So I think
Yes.
the
Because we make you share your
accountability,
numbers.
yeah, I think the accountability piece that your cohort provides is also really critical. Because if you're just doing this on your own, I don't know. If it's me, I can be like,
Yeah.
it's just for me. Nobody else is watching. Nobody else knows. So I don't really have to do this, but that accountability that your group provides is like, oh no, people want to learn, people want to hear what you're doing, they want to learn from you, they want to celebrate you. So I think the 12-week year in itself, yeah, the book is a little flat, but that it should be because it's a structure and it's a framework and it's a process, right? So
But the process is that I think, even though I remind people this is not like, this is not Eat, Pray, Love to read, right?
right,
This is
right,
not,
right.
like for those of you who actually don't read a lot of nonfiction, right? You get to that book and you're like, okay, there's no creative bone here.
Yeah, right.
But the structure of it, I think, is the best.
Yeah.
Um, because I've done 6 rounds now, so um, it it is the best for just people in the masses to be able to go, oh yeah, let me do that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and breaking things down into tactics and actually measuring like, okay, I said I was going to do this 4 out of the 7 days. Did I do that? Am I hitting 100% on that or am I at 50%? And I
Yeah,
only did it once, or whatever the percentage is. You're the math geek, you would know that. But
yeah,
um but I think combining the overall objective with the tactics and the measurement is, it's super supportive. And the framework in and of itself too, like it's not just about task. They also really say, nope, you need a 2-hour chunk that's just for you.
yeah,
It's for you. It doesn't even have to be about your work, but it's got to be something that's going to feed you. They say you need a 3-hour chunk that's just your strategic planning block. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's such a gift, is giving yourself permission for those things and knowing both of them are going to feed all the things you need to do in your tactics, because it allows you that creative space. So it's not just a list of tasks.
Right.
It's also like a time to create. And I think that balance really works well for me.
And the creative piece, you were creating like crazy. I mean, you had a website to build. I mean, you had a lot of gigantic tasks because you were leaving um your old career and
Yep.
going out on your own.
Yep. Yeah. Starting my own business.
So you had school on top of it. You had a business to build and contracts to get and so forth. I would gather, this is an assumption. This is where you get to kind of slap me right here on camera. Um, my assumption is that it actually made it easier
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Um,
because the system would just say, get in.
yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, for me, it was also combined with other coaching that you were doing with me, right? And
Right.
other coaching I was getting from other people. And so it helped me kind of synthesize all those things and be like, okay, well, here are my priorities for this 12-week period.
Yeah.
It's going to move me towards this bigger thing of like having an income for myself through this new business that I've created, and figuring out really the big chunks that are associated with that. And so I think, especially combined with some of the other work that you and I have been doing and are doing together, on kind of launching myself, it really strengthened that and gave me an opportunity to really think about, okay, but how am I implementing? How am I integrating? And I think the 12-week year provided the way to integrate and implement.
And do you now, you've gone through twice. I did love to hear that you go, I'm ready again.
Yeah, I am. Yep. So I took the summer off thinking, "Oh, I
Right.
just want to see how it goes." And I think what I would tell you is, even though I'm glad I did it for myself, like
Mhm.
I needed some of that space just to be, and to, create and access some other resources for myself. Um, I'm ready to be back so that I can kind of begin to take my business to my next level. I'm also doing some consulting, and over the next year to 2 years, I'd like to really, diminish that consulting and move fully into full-time coaching. And so,
Yeah.
um, and really, really help the Spark Potential thrive. So
The interesting thing about getting to watch so many of you go through that process is I know I can watch when someone gets it, then they start to get good at it. But then there's this other place where they build agency. And that's where they lean into it, that they go, "Oh, I I'm willing to accept that I don't need to do all these goals by myself.
yeah, yeah,
I can't wait to get back to class." Right? I can't wait to get back to class.
yeah,
And it's easy to opt out. I live in Minnesota, so summers here are sacred. You live in Minnesota, but our group is from all over the world. I mean, they're from everywhere,
yeah,
and but everyone loves summer. So we had this last group that you didn't go to. It ended in the middle of summer. So we're on S term now, which we lovingly call summer term. So you would have gotten this much of summer back, but it's hard to it's hard to constantly be going.
yeah,
So having a break and taking time off, that's where you get that agency. That's actually the test you get by
yeah,
stopping.
yeah.
Is you go, oh wow, this is kind of a mess.
Yeah, yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking of like it's the pit stop between like triathlon events, right? Like,
Yeah.
you do need a break. You need to regroup. You need to get the right equipment on. You need to nourish yourself, all those things, so that you can go into the next leg with the right energy, the right equipment, the right nourishment, the right mindset, all the things. And so for me, that's kind of what the break was about. It's like, oh, let me just see how I am on my own without the 12-week accountability group, and without hearing how other folks are doing or how they're managing different things, and just see, how do I do, and what do I need to re-energize myself for this next leg. So I think what I found in that time is like, oh yeah, this is about communications and marketing, and that's really where I want to begin to put my energy, because that's how I can grow my business on my own, as I really begin to strengthen the foundation that's in place already. So
I love that piece of foundation. I mean, that's also, I think, one of the things that you learn in that first round is how many people, because you were also in a group, you were in the evening group, so that you had a lot of high achievers in there. People, and what I mean by high achievers and high earners are people that are making more than $30,000 a month.
yeah,
And so there were a lot of really high achievers in that group. And then you watch what they have the same amount of foundational need as somebody who's in that group who's making $50,000 a year.
yeah, or
So,
$10,000 a year,
or $10,000 a year.
or I
Yeah.
mean $10,000 a month. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But $10,000, yeah, that they have the same, everybody has the same work to do,
That's right.
because we all like to avoid the same stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We want to have fun doing what we're doing, right? So
Well,
the
yeah.
shiny objects. It's easy to go to the shiny objects. And I think the tactics and the accountability help you go, oh yeah, this thing's not so shiny, but it is going to help me. And so, and like so and so just move through this in their process with this. So let me think about, what does that mean for me, and how might that help me?
The other thing that I loved that you personally brought to the group is you were trained in just different ways to solve things. Energetic. You have your own coaching company, but you've also just done training for a long time.
Yes.
So,
I'm an educator. Yeah.
yes, yes. So you brought all of that in for us. And so one of the things that I loved about what you brought is this calm resolve, right? Giving people feedback, but really one of the things I think you did, the, just the thing that we all counted on you for was the poppy response,
Oh.
right? The
Funny.
poppy
Yeah.
response, where
Yeah.
we would give people a chance to respond, and you always had something that would kind of take our breath away,
Mm.
and just pointing out that thing. I'm hearing this out of you. Is that the right thing?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part of accountability that makes you great in accountability,
Mm.
is that you will speak
Yeah.
in a helpful way, and in a way that is there to help somebody love themselves.
Yeah. I think, fear and judgment are really easy, right, to listen to. And it's harder actually to let those two things go. But when we do, we're able to see a much bigger map of possibility, and we're able to see, oh, this is how this is fitting into the grand scheme, the whole. This is how this is all fitting into the larger picture of life. And really, I think Brene Brown said it. It's like, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Well, if the answer is no to any of those, it's like, oh, okay, so let me let that go, and let me get back into my where I'm making more choice around this rather than allowing the situation to choose it for me. So,
Right.
and just fall into my old patterns. So,
Right. Right. Well, the other thing that I always like about accountability in general is accountability isn't actually a negative,
right,
right? We're so used to accountability being you're doing something wrong.
right.
Whereas accountability, what I remind everybody in that class is we're building tools to help you keep a promise to yourself,
Yeah,
to keep a promise to yourself. And
yeah.
that's really where the grade is. Did you keep the promises to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it. My business is growing and my life is great. And so, I would say, are there some things that I didn't accomplish? Sure. But that doesn't mean I didn't keep my promise to myself, or are there some things that um, I learned around along the way that like help shift things? Yes, for sure. Um, so I think uh we don't have to beat ourselves up. Everybody else does enough of that for us. So, or the world does it enough for us. So I think um the true goal is to use this process to move something forward, right?
Something.
Rather than stay in our place of lethargy or feeling stuck. Um, this is a process that, you're going to get celebrated, and you should celebrate yourself for every step forward because you're not staying in the same place. There's just no way you will stay in the same place with the 12-week process and the 12-week accountability group that you run. So, um,
Yeah,
no,
there
you
really isn't. I
can't.
agree with you.
Yeah, you can't. You're going to move something forward because you're going to be inspired by what other people are doing, or you're going to get some kernel of advice or some like, oh, aha moment that's going to be like, yeah, wow, huh, that could help me too. And
Oh,
so it just is like, it provides just a little bit, like whatever, oil in the gears, whatever, it just makes everything work and function a little bit more smoothly.
the amount of things I write down from all of you
Yeah,
is crazy because you all have such great advice.
yeah,
Yeah. That's also my favorite thing about that group. It's at the end when I go, okay, give us the advice.
yeah, yeah,
Give us the advice.
yeah,
Uh, because there's all these brilliant people in the room with you.
yeah.
And a lot of times I'll ask people for advice at the end that they're going to take themselves. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the magic in the group experience is, we most of us are in our own creating our own businesses or have created our own businesses. And so we do a lot on our own. And and it's so easy just to be in a mindset of like, oh, what is my next step? And not reach out or not ask or not, get different perspectives. And I think the magic of the group too is like it's naturally 12 different perspectives that you get
Yeah.
in an hour
Yeah.
every week.
Every
And
week.
and I know those 12 different perspectives have definitely helped shape or reshape or inform what it is I do in the following week or, in my business or whatever it may be. But it's just a great place to get however many different people are in the group, that's how many different perspectives you get. And it's so rich. It's just really
It's
rich. Yeah,
I love it. I'm gonna reach for something. Now, for everyone, I'm probably going to put Poppy on the spot though.
probably. Yeah,
Okay, so how did this is the handout that you get in the 12-week year that
yeah,
you see me use a lot. Um, how were you at this material? Because there's lots of people
yeah,
using the book, they're using lists, they're using opportunities.
yeah,
Did you use the handout? Was that a helpful piece?
yeah. I use parts of the handout. The most helpful piece to me is the front piece around what are your primary objectives for this 12 weeks and what are the bigger tactics that you need to work through regularly to achieve those objectives. Um, I was less good at the weekly reflection. But because we had the accountability group, I did do it. I didn't do the math geek part of it.
Of giving yourself the percentage.
Yeah, I mean, I did that sometime, but I didn't have a pattern of doing it. But it is
Right.
informative when you do it. To be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, gosh, I only was at 40%. Why is that? Oh, well, this other thing came up and I needed to spend more time on it. Well, okay, no judgment in that. It's just like it gives you an opportunity to evaluate, right? So the packet is definitely helpful. And, I know some people bought, whatever, something on Amazon for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The fancy
whatever,
book,
yeah,
twelve
whatever's
ninety
going to
five.
work for you. But I think the
Twelve
point
ninety
is
five. It costs 40 cents to print this out.
right.
So
Yeah,
I'm at the 40 cent one, but
right. I'm with you on that. Um, and so I just think like that resource that you just shared is like it's a focusing tool and it's a tool for reflection and evaluation. And it helps you reorient if you need to reorient because
yeah,
you can always shift things in there. There is no rule about changing your goals or changing your tactics. But having them and starting with them and checking in on them each week um, definitely help keep you on track. I did refer to that, my overview every morning. Like I sat down at my desk and I'm like, oh, okay, what do I need to do on this part of the project? Okay, what do I need to do with that project? What do I need? So like it is a way to focus my day.
and to focus your energy.
Yeah, totally.
That we use a lot of methods. One of the things that I shared with everyone is that I use this wins box. So I do my dailies and then I keep mine. So I have this winning box. I have ones that I have the non-winning box. It's luckily it's not as full, but I keep my pieces so that I can go back and look at them. But then at the end of the year, I see all my days, right?
Yeah.
Like what, how did I plan that out? The other thing that you said out of that is that reorient.
Hmm.
There were some shockers to watch people who got to week 8 and they went, "Oh, I hate everything I built."
Yeah. Yep.
And that reorienting, it was really fun to watch how people figured that out.
Yeah.
That they had realized that the path that they had created, they didn't actually like.
Yeah. Or it wasn't working towards what they truly wanted, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that permission slip to openly change course with people that you trust, but you had come in with a different goal.
Yeah.
I think there's something about trust there.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, there's a certain level of vulnerability, in the group. Um, and by vulnerability, it's almost more important to be vulnerable with yourself than it is with the group because the group is going to embrace you. We all love each other, and we all want to support each other and are the voice that you need to hear um when you have changed direction and are judging yourself. The voice that the group is going to be like, it's okay. I've done
Yeah.
that too. And wow, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. So they're there to help you silence that internal judge that we all have. So
Well, and the reorienting on your first round, by the time you get to second round, you really pick different. Now, did you pick different things to work on
I
that were,
I did because I'm just finishing my first year of my business. It's like the first time around, it really was around like, let's get structures in place like my website and, reaching out, doing a certain level of outreach to my network and things like that. And, um, my second round was really around things that, honestly provided me more grace, like trying to live more judgment free and, some of these other things that would allow me to be successful in my business. There's some other pieces too around like tactical things for my business, but they shifted to kind of a higher level of like, oh, well, let's shift the thought that's getting in my way more so than like get the website done, reach out to this many people every day, you know, whatever it might be. So, and those are important too. And, you know, all tactics are fine and goals are fine, but my goals definitely kind of reoriented in my second round. So
Yeah. Well, and you, what I learned from 6 rounds is that no goal that you pick, no outcome, whatever the things are that you're going to pick. Most people pick 3 items, and they're going to work through those for those 84 days. But none of them was alike. None of your tactics is the same. The way
right.
you emotionally feel about that, the methodology, that it's something new every time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very
And
true. Yeah,
so you're never not learning,
right.
because the way that I'm solving or inspired, you know, we have a lot of people that just pick organization because they want the clutter gone, they want this gone, they want this other stuff gone, because they've had this big life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you watch them cleaning out their closets and you're like, oh, I should clean out my closet.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, and a lot of us have, you know, goals around health and wellness.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's incredibly helpful to, you know, have the support of 12 other people when you're trying to, you know, treat yourself better physically and mentally,
Yeah.
right? So that you can
Yeah.
show up better for yourself, but also better for the world.
I was always excited to hear what Jalila was making for the week.
Yeah, right? Yes.
Right. What are you cooking? What are
Yeah.
you cooking?
Yeah.
It's so good.
And I think it was Ty who said, you know what? I want to do this many workouts per week. It wasn't about how much weight or whatever, but it was about, no, if I go and, you know, show up. Well, actually, I think she had a 12-week goal of like, I don't know,
So many
120
workouts.
workouts or something like that.
Some crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a, you know, like for me, that was a great lesson in like, oh yeah, I don't just have to have my weight as, you know, the outcome of
Yeah.
uh, for living healthier, you know. Um, doesn't have to be that big rock, but yeah, I can show up and, you know, say I'm gonna walk 5 out of 7 days every, you know, of the week, every week, you know, like that's manageable.
Well,
So
and that's sometimes we want this big fancy thing, and the actions are, you just have to work at it every single day.
yeah, totally.
And it doesn't have to be that long, but it has to be every day.
Yeah,
It has to be every day.
yeah.
So in that, so one, I'll be glad to see you in the fall.
Yes, I'm excited to come back.
I'll be glad to see you in the fall. Uh, the there's a lot of prosperity mindset. Now you've gotten to know me. You get to the secret. Everybody, right? This is where the secret comes. Everybody, right now, because Poppy's known me for a long time. Uh, I snuck in a lot of prosperity mindset into your group, into your videos.
Yeah,
You probably recognize that from your own work.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what part of prosperity mindset helped that process go easier for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, to me, this gets back to, well, there's a number of things that I'm thinking about right now. I think, well, first of all, prosperity mindset is just that. It's a mindset, right? There's no external marker that tells you you've made it or you haven't made it, right? We all have different standards that we want to live by and all those kinds of things. But truly, prosperity mindset it is a mindset. And it encompasses so much more than the economics of life and
Yes.
our bank book, right? It is about how are we perceiving things? You know, how do we want to look at things? What's the perspective that we're taking a look at this with? What are we inviting into our life? You know, so I think it truly is a holistic mindset of how to approach things. And It's also as simplistic as like asking, what if? What if I did
What if?
this? And that curiosity alone takes somebody from feeling kind of stuck and maybe not in a prosperous place to be like, oh yeah, what if? Or how can I? Really simple questions. I wonder if, or I wonder what about, what am I noticing? So when you start to open yourself up to that curiosity, I think that really is a key piece of the prosperity mindset, because um, we can we can put energy into the answer to the what if, right? Or I'm wondering, or how can I? We can put energy into that, and we then begin to manifest it. So, um, but what?
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
well, I think it's safe energy.
Yeah.
The what if, the if question, if then, right? If what, right? Did you have an if?
Um, I think so. As I transitioned out of having a career and then starting my own business, there was certainly a lot of question around, should I just be going into another job, or should I be putting my energy into my own business? Um, so I think my big what if was like, yeah, what if I'm able to create this thing called Spark Potential and support people in this way? And how can I, that changed to how can I, um, and I think part of that what if is like, yeah, so what are the ripple effects of kind of following my own purpose and passion? Not that I can't do that with an organization, but when you're truly like in charge of, like, yeah, this is my what if,
Yeah,
and this is now about me wanting to live life, and I'm choosing to do that, you know in my own way, versus kind of having to go and play by all these rules inside of another organization. And again, not that that's not a fine thing. I did that for 35 years of my life and it was awesome. um but um but now, yeah, so I think my what if was like, wow, what if I could, and I still have what ifs, like, what if I could run my business from the road and go travel around the country, for a year. So I still have more what ifs. And
yeah,
I think that's the key. That's a piece of it. It's like one what if leads to another what if.
yeah. Well, the travel piece is funny because, right, I leave 1 month a year and live somewhere else and pack up my life and go on the road. Um, so it is, you have to get to those pieces to go, can I do this?
Yeah.
But the other part about for you and prosperity mindset is you had a lot of training. You've given a lot of training. You've had a lot of training. You are a person of high capacity, and you've been leading a long time. And prosperity mindset as a leader in an organization that has a mission that you are leading is very different than going, I'm going to fly solo.
Yeah, it is.
And I actually got to watch that process for you. And now we're a year further in serving others' mission first
Yeah.
to serving a mission that has more meaning for you,
Yeah.
more personal meaning.
Yeah.
How did prosperity mindset help you bridge that?
Yeah.
Because that was a spooky leap. You made great money at that job. I mean, you had a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah, I did.
And
Yeah.
but that jumping on that other piece, it feels like you're jumping off of a cliff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, as your mindset gets here, you're like, yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that big of a bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it that big of a bridge?
um the bridge was, um the bridge was more about like silencing the I don't know how to start my own business thing. Like that's a limiting belief. That's the thing that says, oh, okay, well, if you don't know how to do that, then you have to go and get another job, right? Um because I don't know how to do this. And so the piece that honestly helped me create that bridge was, well, there's several of them. One was I ran a startup organization for Outward Bound in the Twin Cities. And so,
Right.
and it had, 10 years
Nothing.
of great success with, you know, when I was in
But
that
they
role.
didn't even have a desk when you started.
So that's right. So,
We didn't have a desk or a chair.
right.
Right.
So in thinking about that, it's like, well, I helped start a nonprofit, and yes, there was support there financially, and there was some structures that were in place, but I had to keep the engine going, right? And so when I thought about that, it's like, well, I've done this for another mission, another organization, so why can't I do it for myself? And so for me, that was super helpful. And the other thing that was unexpected helpful was part of the prosperity mindset is your, and you taught me this lesson a long time ago, was that your net worth is equal to your network, right? And I'll
Yeah.
never forget that. And I haven't forgotten it. But I had no idea how people would come forward in really small ways and really big ways, and probably in ways they just don't even recognize that they did to support Poppy starting Spark Potential,
Yeah.
and the third thing I think for me was because I had a prosperity mindset, I also really did things for myself leading up to this change
Oh,
that um created mm, it created strength and income during that transition. So like I advocated for myself when I transitioned out of the organization. There were
right.
certain things I asked for and I got. But I think, most people when they're leaving an organization don't ask for things. Um, I had already started, working towards my certification in coaching a year prior to this transition. So that was an incredibly helpful and now looking back, an astute piece that I put into place. And so I think having a prosperity mindset helped me take those types of actions so that when it really became evident that I needed to shift my work for myself, the leap, although it might have seemed big, it wasn't that big, right?
Right.
Right. It
Right.
was possible. It went from feeling, like, gosh, can I do this? To being like, oh yeah, that's possible. So
Which probable.
yeah,
Yeah. Possible and probable. Very different corners.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That I can probably do this.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we've had a year of absolutely, bananas growth in your life.
yeah,
1 year. You've had bananas. You've been bananas for a long time, but we've got
thanks.
bananas growth
Yeah.
here. And in the last year, we've seen you really say, "I'm going to defy some of the ordinary, and I'm going to take on the extraordinary." What's the most extraordinary thing that's happened for you in the last year?
Wow, that's a big question.
I know, because you've had a lot of extraordinary
um,
things.
I think, um, I mean, it's working, right? And I think the extraordinary thing is that whether I'm consulting or grant writing or coaching or just living life, my dogs, my family, my friends, the things that are coming forward are all things that are really meaningful. And they're all not just sustaining me, but they're really helping me kind of understand how it is I want to thrive. So, um,
Yeah. Or that
yeah,
we get to thrive in the way that we want to.
yeah, yeah. And the work I get to do is so meaningful. And, I just came back from Michigan, and they're talking about how to redo the history and education system in Michigan so that there's accurate teaching of Indigenous history.
Yeah.
And that, these Indigenous learners that are present in just about every school district are going to have better educational experience because they're going to have better educators in front of them, educators who understand um, uh, some of the really difficult things that have happened in the Indigenous communities, but also about the hopefulness of the future and how they can be supported to dream the life that they want to live. And so like that's really exciting work, right? Like it's work of impact. And so I think for me the extraordinary piece is that like these opportunities are coming my way that provide for work of impact and a life of impact. So
Right. Right. That I think that is the extraordinary.
yeah.
That we when we stay in that energetic level of being true to ourselves, right? Because prosperity, the definition is the ability to magnify, right? So something gets to magnify, but you have to know that spot that you're magnifying from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all of the other work kind of helps you understand what is the seed of who I am and how do I want to expand from there.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get afraid to be extraordinary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we
I mean,
can't.
well, uncertainty is hard, right? And so
Yeah.
when we don't know what's on the other side of that, um, we kind of allow that internal judge to reel us back. So
Well, but that's what I also like about the group mentality is that it's easier to think extraordinary things if other people want to be extraordinary.
yeah.
So getting to work on extraordinary projects is it just makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and for you, that extraordinary project was also that you built a cohort of your own.
Yeah.
You just landed some new contracts again, but your business opening has also given you so many things that were unexpected.
Yes.
Um, I'm also loving that there's a pile of money in the bank.
Yes, there is some money in the bank.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and at the end of your first year, you're not on a shoestring. You actually have a real budget
Yeah.
and a real thing. Now,
Yeah.
did you know that was going to happen?
Well, I hoped it was going to happen. And again, like I took advantage of certain things, like the dislocated worker program in Minnesota has a great program called Climb for people who are starting their businesses. And I'm still in it. And, I just enrolled in some coaching for marketing, and the Climb program's going to, knock on wood, support that $2,400 that I need for that. So it's like,
Yeah,
also see what's out there for yourself. And there's no shame in taking advantage of programs that are set up exactly for the people who are in the situations, right? So I think, a piece of it is like, yeah, acknowledging what would help, and what you want, and finding the resources that exist to support that. So I
and
think,
not being afraid to use them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, or think that it's for somebody else, it is for someone else too, but it's also for you.
Yeah, that was the lesson you gave me of
Yeah,
Nikki, pick up those resources.
that's right.
Right.
That's right.
They're for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to close this out the
Okay.
same way we close out group. Poppy, what's the word? What's the advice that you have for us that you yourself are going to follow?
Yeah. Great question. I think the advice that I would give is, take the time to be thoughtful in what it is that you want to be working towards, and acknowledge that, and think about the big rocks that it's going to take to achieve those things. And then, find your people that are gonna support you and not, be this, but be like, yes, like rock on, you're doing amazing, because none of us are an island. We're not in this world alone. We're here to support one another. And so I just say, go after what you want, name it. Don't coast, and you'll be amazed at what comes forward, as you dream and as you put it on paper and as you then break it into tactics, and just go for it. So
Just go for it.
yeah,
Go for
just
it.
go for it.
Okay. Well, everybody, that's two things. One, welcome to the 12-week year. I'll see you back. We'll get to hear what Poppy does in round 3.
Yep.
Have you already set your goals?
No.
Yeah,
Nope.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I'm toying with them. I've some big ones that I kind of want to do. So
Awesome.
one, the other piece there is that whether or not you're in your first round, second round, whatever, go forward. Foundational stuff, this reorienting, that's what I wrote down from what you said today. I had to stop in the middle of our recording to write a note.
Awesome. I'm glad you at least got one. So
I got one.
that's awesome.
Well, that don't be afraid to reorient.
Right. Yeah, it's okay. Everything
Yeah.
shifts, right? Energy shifts. It's okay.
Yeah.
So reorient.
And in 1 year, can your life look a lot different?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And personally, I have a lot more joy and love and healthy energy. And previous it was pretty stressful and
It
kind
was
of
so stressful. I
full,
mean,
full of doubt. And that's on me. That's not on anything else. But I let that come into my space. So and
it
now
was
that's
so
shifted.
stressful.
Yeah.
And it's so nice.
It is.
It's so nice to have you back.
Yeah. Very good. It's good to
As
be
you.
back. Yeah, it's good to be
Okay,
back.
everyone. Well, goodbye from Minneapolis and
White Bear Lake.
White Bear Lake. All right. See you,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye.